Olympic gold medalist Gretchen Walsh joins UVA's presidential nominating committee. Olympic champion Gretchen Walsh dives into leadership role on UVA's presidential nominating committee. Here's the kicker. A swimmer who just graduated isn't typically associated with presidential selection. But Gretchen Walsh, the Virginia Cavaliers' record-shattering NCAA and world champion, isn't your average student. UVA's recently unveiled 28-member committee tasked with choosing its 10th president includes Walsh as one of 3 active students, alongside doctoral candidate Quanah Davis and student representative Gregory Perryman. But here's the twist. This committee isn't just any group. They're navigating a political minefield. Why Walsh? The 2024 finance graduate with a math minor shattered expectations not just in the pool. As an Olympian with 2 Paris gold medals and 17 world records, she balanced an impressive 3.85 GPA while climbing to peak athletic success. Her academic acumen makes her a standout among students chosen for this role and raises questions about how universities balance student voices with administrative expertise. The bigger picture. University of Virginia found itself at the center of a national debate when President James Ryan resigned in June 2024. Pressure from Donald Trump's administration and the U.S. Department of Justice aims to dismantle the school's diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI programs. But here's where it gets controversial. Even after the Board of Visitors voted to eliminate the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in March, the Justice Department accused the university of merely rebranding existing initiatives. This back and forth raises critical questions about academic freedom and political interference. Committee dynamics. Sports fans might recognize 2 key names: Athletic Director Carla Williams, parent of a UVA student, and Walsh herself. The group spans legal, academic, business, and student perspectives. Members include degree holders across undergraduate, graduate, and professional programs, business leaders like former Carlyle Group CFO John Harris and Winston Capital Vice President Martin Bush, academic experts such as biomedical engineering Professor Philip Bourne and neuroscience VP Laurie McMill, community voices including former Mayor Amanda Pillion and School Board Chair Dr. Babul Latif. Walsh's credentials. Her selection isn't just symbolic. In 2025, she became Honda Cup winner for top female collegiate athlete, 2-time ACC Mary Garver Award recipient, CSCAA Academic All-America Team Member of the Year. This trifecta proves she combines excellence in sports, academics, and leadership, key components for a committee shaping the university's future. The road ahead. UVA's presidential search occurs without its first president since 1904. Yes, you read that right. The role went unfilled for 79 years. The committee's choice affects DEI initiatives, student life, and academic direction. Critics argue that presidential selection committees increasingly reflect political agendas rather than institutional priorities. Others see student inclusion like Walsh's as vital for staying relevant. Where do you stand? Should student athletes have more representation in university leadership? Did Ryan resign under unfair political pressure? Or was this accountability in action? Can DEI programs thrive independently of administrative offices? Or do they need dedicated departments? Readers, which perspective resonates more with you? Join the conversation in comments. Note, for ongoing updates on this diversifying story, check out SwimSwam's coverage of UVA swimming, swimswam.com, and Associated Press reports, abnews.com. Editorial. UVA's path forward begins in the shadows of administrative silence. Editorial. UVA's path forward begins in the shadows of administrative silence. Almost 4 weeks have passed since former university president Jim Ryan stepped down under pressure from the Department of Justice. Yet, the university's leadership has remained conspicuously silent on the reasons behind his resignation or its implications for the institution. We only have a vague sense of what transpired. DOJ letters alleging federal civil rights violations and Supreme Court rulings on affirmative action. But the details remain murky. Key stakeholders, including faculty and students, are growing frustrated with the lack of clarity and consistent communication. The Faculty Senate recently passed a vote of no confidence in the Board of Visitors after repeated meetings with Board Rector Rachel Sheridan and Vice Rector Porter Wilkinson failed to address concerns about federal overreach and inclusive governance. Student Council also passed a resolution calling for greater transparency and student inclusion in university decisions. This lack of transparency has left the entire university community in the dark about the basics of what happened and what lies ahead. The Board of Visitors leaders have instead left us with unanswered questions, eroding trust in their commitment to transparency and fairness. The DOJ's involvement has become increasingly opaque. While the compliance review under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act began on April 11th, the university's engagement with the DOJ have been confusing. By mid-June, the DOJ started emailing external counsel and incoming rector Rachel Sheridan weeks before her term officially began. Sheridan claims she never negotiated with the DOJ prior to July 1st, but the letters contradict this assertion. Why do the DOJ negotiations shift from university council to the board? If Sheridan wasn't negotiating before her term started, who was responsible for the university's dealings with the DOJ from mid-June until July 1st? These unanswered questions fuel speculation about how the DOJ talks were conducted, leaving the community in a precarious position. What guarantees did the university receive in exchange for Ryan's resignation? Acting President Jennifer Wagner Davis has stated negotiations are ongoing, but a final agreement hasn't been released. If Ryan's resignation came before the university's lead negotiator received real assurances, it would reflect poorly on the negotiators. This unresolved situation could shape university life, potentially dismantling scholarships, ending programs focused on accessibility, or continuing investigations that threaten millions in research funding. As the 1-month anniversary of Ryan's resignation approaches, the future remains unclear. Davis has become acting president, but there's no public timeline for hiring a new president or interim leader, both of which the board must address. The board's legal authority to meet is also in question, with Democratic state senators accusing the university of violating state laws by allowing denied appointees to serve. Students will return to campus without a clear vision of who will lead the institution or trust the governing body, which has made no effort to explain its actions. As community members, we demand transparency and accountability, clearly outlining what happened before Ryan's resignation and holding the board accountable for its failure to listen to stakeholders. We acknowledge that not all answers are available, but the lack of clarity stems from the board and its allies obscuring the truth. To those who want us to understand your actions, we urge you to embrace transparency and support your governance. Answer our questions and let's move forward with clarity. The Cavalier Daily editorial board comprises the executive editor, editor-in-chief, 2 opinion editors, a senior associate, and an opinion columnist. Contact us at eb@cavalierdaily.com.